All right, so I'm working here with Dr. Steve Bunce. He's an experienced teacher, a dad, researcher, and author. He's currently working with schools across the UK, getting children excited about learning using computing and play in particular, which is perfect for what we're going to be doing for EU Code Week.
Sure. And I'm here with Matt, and Matt is an experienced software developer, and he's worked on the code for a number of devices you may be using. And he's a father, a coach, and a teacher too. So we're really excited to be here together, and we're going to tell you a little bit about the sessions and what you need to do to prepare for them. Back to you, Matt.
That's right. So to start off with, the sessions are going to be going on. We've got two separate weeks. The first week will be the 12th to the 16th of October, and then the second week will be the 19th to the 23rd. This is to cover any cases where some of you may be on holiday, some of you may not fit into your schedule yet, but we'll be running the same 5 days from a quick start to code with Swift, which is a PDF we'll show you in a second, every single day. So if you missed the first week, you can always catch it the second week. We'll also be recording these sessions. So if the time of 9:45 in the morning to 10:30 Irish UK time doesn't work for you, you can always catch up with it at a later time. This is the material that we'll be working from, a quick start to code with Swift. We meet Byte and we work through some of the Swift playgrounds, some of the amazing Swift playgrounds that Apple's put together, as well as some additional third-party ones that we'll show you today. So we were running through our IT checklist. One, for sure, make sure you have no woodpeckers anywhere near your classroom. Secondly, you want to make sure that YouTube is accessible on the teacher's device. This is how we're going to stream all of our sessions on this channel. So you can just bookmark thecodehub.ie/live and it'll redirect you to the right channel. This is where we'll be streaming from every morning. You want to decide how you're going to present this live video in the class, whether you AirPlay it to a screen at the front of the room or you video project it. We highly recommend presenting the video in the stream at the front of the room and having the students working on their iPads with Swift Playgrounds on the exercises or on the unplugged coding activities. You also want to decide if you're going to be using Classroom to help your students. It's a great way to look in on what playgrounds the students are working on, whether or not they're stuck. Great way to identify if anybody needs any additional help. In addition to the stuff that we'll be doing on screen. And then you'll also want to make sure that you can comment on the live stream, just in case your class has any questions. At the end of every session, we'll leave some time to answer questions from the classes out there. We're going to try to feature a specific school from a region around Europe during the course of the week, and they'll be appearing during our Unplugged sessions. They may have some questions of their own for us. So make sure you can comment and drop us a note. In fact, I know the commenting system's working because we heard about the woodpecker earlier. But if you guys could just drop in the comments a note about where you're dialing in from, that would be amazing. Of course, if you're not familiar with YouTube and the commenting system, we have this box over here on the side, and this is where we're going to see most of our chat. So here, I'll kick it off. The little hello, teachers. Now, you need to practice this because we are going to ask you to add a few things to the chat as we go on, and it's going to get very competitive later on.
Yes, it's really useful to try this out. What we've got is it's a way of, during the sessions, for either yourselves or the students and children who've got questions they'd like to add, they can ask us this Q&A through the YouTube comments there, and we can have a look at them and pick out some questions and feed back to them.
Cool. So we've got somebody from the Earlston and Gordon primary schools in the borders. That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
And Green Lawn Swindon. Okay, cool.
Hello, Andrew. Hello, Zoe.
Pretty good. Great. Well, listen, like I said, it's going to turn very competitive in a little bit. But what we'll do now is we're going to go off to our resource. So right now we have this resource out here. It's a little mini site. Some of you may have already seen it. If you go to the codehub.ie/eu-code-week-2020, we have this just site for you to kind of browse. We've got a whole bunch of information about using this site in class, at home, and we cover the different days. Steve, do you want to run us through a little bit of using this site in class?
Sure, yes. So Matt's described a little bit of the IT things that you'll need. So thinking about how you might set that up in the classroom. On the website, as Matt mentioned, there is a little bit there for using the site in the classroom. And it's a little bit just to describe, well, firstly, a bit of the technical setup, but really just think about how you might do that. So a handy diagram just on the page there is where we've got the teacher at the front with maybe YouTube playing on the big screen for the children and students to follow along with. And then they will be using the Swift Playgrounds on their iPads. And we thought carefully about whether they would need to go from, say, a website to another site, to YouTube, to back to Swift Playgrounds. And we just thought we'll keep it as simple as possible. So on the big screen will be the follow along with Matt and myself. And then the students on their iPads will then just be in the Swift Playgrounds to follow through and do the activities as we go. But feel free to run that how you like. It's a good way of actually just testing it out to see what it's like. If, for example, you get to a point in the session and you say, well, I think we just should pause there, feel free to pause it. And then later on, maybe you could come back later and watch the end of the session later, if that happens to fit in with your school timetable, because we know there's lots of times when you might have to break or whether you might have interruptions and things. So you can watch it live with us and watch it through YouTube on the TV, ask questions, or again, you can watch it later and you can then pick it up there by watching it playing back live on the screen. And as we just done with the comments, if you've got the live on the teacher's computer at the front, then it means that you can then interact with us, ask some questions, and get the children to ask questions too.
Yeah, exactly. And this it's the same for at home. We've tried to make it as easy as possible for you guys to have a one-stop shop for this site. Any of your questions, feel free to drop us a note. We've got email addresses scattered all over the site for you to just drop us a line. We're relatively quick about getting back to you, so definitely don't be shy. Um, when you do start up your activity in your classroom, it'd be great if when you're registering your EU Code Week activity that you used our Code Week for All code, which is on the screen there, CW20-OPKJ0. Just rolls off the tongue. Make sure you use that when you register your own activity. All you're doing is telling EU Code Week that you will be doing something during EU Code Week. There's no obligation. You get a little certificate at the end of it for having participated in trying to get your kids more educated about code. So we covered the days, Steve?
Yes. So let's have a look at what we're doing on the Monday. So during the week, we have an activity on each day. And as Matt mentioned, we're going to repeat those each week. So, for example, the activity to do on the first Monday, we'll be repeating again on the second Monday. And throughout the week, again, hopefully we'll have different guest stars, different schools we're going to feature as we go. And we have some lined up already there. But if anyone else wants to get involved, please do let us know if you want to get involved too. So the way it's going to work is each day has a focus. So, for example, the first day is we're going to get started with the Swift Playgrounds, where we're going to meet the character called Byte, and we're going to learn a little bit about algorithms and steps. Once we've had a little introduction, we then go on to the Unplugged activity. And the Unplugged activity, the idea is it's to get a concept across. So the concept of our day on Monday is algorithms, and we're going to try and get it across using an activity which doesn't use technology. It just uses the children making something or doing something in the classroom there. So what they're going to do on the Monday is they're going to fold some paper. So they're going to make a little character, so where you can fold the paper and you can make the little character dance, because our theme for the week is dancing. So we're going to make a paper folder dancer there. And the instructions will be, I'll take you through them on the Monday, as well as if you want, there's a YouTube video of somebody making one similar on the web page as well. So the idea is algorithms, so therefore they'll follow the algorithm to make the paper dancer on that Monday. And then that leads us nicely onto what we're going to be doing in the Swift Playgrounds. And Matt's going to explain what happens in that today.
Yeah, so what we're going to do then is move from the unplugged activity over onto the iPad. We'll use Learn to Code 1 for this particular day. On each one of these pages, we call out the playground that we'll be using that day, so you're ready in advance. And we also have this kind of handy little cheat sheet where you can go and actually copy the code that we'll be writing over the course of the lesson and paste it into any of the Swift Playground pages that you're working with. So if a student gets really stuck, or if you get stuck because maybe this isn't your thing, you're not into coding, but you're giving it your best shot, this is a way for you to get caught up very quickly and not get left behind. Because I know it's all too easy to get left behind when you're trying to follow along with someone on the screen and typing code at the same time. It's not the easiest thing to do. So we've added some code here as we work through those first 3 pages to help you keep up with us. And then that brings us over to Tuesday. The focus of today's lesson is to basically just build on the previous days. We'll be talking more about functions and how we compose our own commands. We learned about how to talk to a computer in the previous lesson. Now we're going to start to get a little bit more sophisticated and bend and shape the code the way we want to bend it. I personally love this. This is where it starts to get a lot more interesting for our students because they start to organize their thoughts a little bit.
Thanks, Matt. And again, today we're going to be using on the Tuesday, using an activity using a simulated robot. Now, I have the actual robot here with me. This is the Jimu Me2 robot, Meebot rather. And this Meebot robot, you can program this via the Swift Playgrounds and get the physical robot to move. But also there's a simulation, which is what we're going to be using in the coding part. And what I found is a number of people have had a look maybe at the Learn to Code resources, but they haven't looked at some of these other extra add-ons. So it's a lovely opportunity to have a look at that today. And therefore, for the unplugged activity, we're going to use a dance, which we're going to get started with. And the theme, because it is EU Code Week, the theme is dance. And they actually have a dance which they've created, which has a number of steps in it that we can follow along with and do that dance. And that's what we're going to be doing on that Tuesday. We're going to do the steps from the dance and get the children to try it out to see if they can follow that. And then that leads us on, as Matt said, with the code and the algorithm and into functions. So how can we make maybe that set of instructions more efficient? And therefore, that's what it leads into then in the coding part.
Exactly. And then we decide that, either they're too tired and this is great exercise. They've exercised their legs and the rest of their bodies. Now they're going to exercise their fingers by typing in a bit of code and making the virtual Meebot dance within that playground. You can see here as well that we also have this extra extended section as well. So if your students are a bit more advanced and you've done a bit of coding and you say, oh, I know about the Meebot 2.0 Dances Playground, I know about Learn to Code 1. We try to give some extra things to push the students. And even if they haven't, and if they just find that they're really getting on well with the material, we give them stuff to challenge themselves with, either in classroom or after the fact at home.
So then on to Wednesday. Oh, no, on to Thursday already. No, we're on to Wednesday. We're on to Wednesday. There we are. I'm getting ahead of myself. On the Wednesday, we're going to go loopy. So we're going to think this time about loops. So again, this is a taster from all the different resources that are available for Swift Playgrounds. This is another lesson or a set of activities which are available in that Learn to Code 1. And we're going to try and think about where we might use these repeated instructions over and over. So this time again, we're going to use some dance theme for the unplugged activity. So your children may be aware of TikTok style dances or Fortnite emote dances. It might just be that they have a traditional national dance. So for example, you may have a national dance which has a set of moves which you use. For the borders in Scotland, they could do the slosh, if you can remember that. But it's a set of moves where you're going to put those together. So if you want, you can use a couple of examples. There's an example there on the website of how to do a Fortnite dance. But there's also a really nice example I quite like using with the classes called Banana Meatball. And I love the actions involved in that, where you're getting a set of moves, but then we're going to loop them. We're going to repeat those things again and again to form our dance and our song.
And again, and maybe we should think more about how sweaty these kids are going to be once they're done with all these unplugged activities. But then we're going to jump into loops, and we kind of show off how programmers can be a little bit lazy, and we let the machines do the work for us. So we'll have our iPads looping through code that we just have to write once, and we could have it loop through, in this case, 5 times, 4 times over here, and we'll start to develop some pattern sensing techniques and learn about how to use Swift to its full advantage. Now, Thursday, we take a little jump up. We jump into a brand new playground, Learn to Code 2 here, and we start to talk about variables. So this is where we start to maybe lose some of our younger students, but we're going to work our hardest to make sure that we can bring that concept of variables and how you use them and why you'd use them across to everybody.
And so therefore, in the Unplugged activity, still with our dancing, we're going to think about different dances. So if the children have a dance that they can think of that they want to use, then they can use that example. Or you may have played a video game, Just Dance, which is where you would copy certain dance moves and see how accurately you can copy those. And from the Just Dance website, or from Just Dance if you've played the game, there are lots and lots and lots of songs. And each of those songs has a different name. And it also has maybe a different duration, how long the song is. And in the dance itself, it might have like lots of moves. How many steps do you need to do to perform that dance? And these are all the variables that are in there. So if you had a database of all the different songs and dances, you get different variables that are in there. So we're going to ask the children to think about a dance they like. Could be their own dance, or it could be one they already do. And they're going to think about the name, and they're going to think about the different steps that are involved to try and set that theme of variables for the day.
Yeah, exactly. And we're going to carry it through into the coding challenges where we're going to show them, why you'd use a variable. So in this case, for the keeping track page, we'll talk about how we have a gem counter and we store that value in there that we then want to use later. It's a little bit ties back to the loops lesson where we talked about writing some code and thinking about the pattern that we want to have run over and over again. Variables is kind of similar because we'll get them thinking about, all right, well, I have some information that I want to use over and over again. What do I do with it? Where do I store it? Bump up the value takes it even further by changing that value and bumping the gem counter as we go along, collecting gems with Byte and his friends.
Lovely. And that takes us on to Friday. So our last day is just slightly different because this time we're going to be using another little Swift playground where you can create your own games instructions, and it's based around rock, paper, scissors. So what we hope is rock, paper, scissors is a fairly international game. And it's one of those where, again, you could invent your own different variables in there or your different things. But in the game itself, we're going to play that with the children. So, for example, rock, and you can have the scissors, and you have paper. And the way that the simple rules of the algorithm are is if you have a rock, then that can beat scissors. If you have paper, that will beat rock because that can wrap a rock. And finally, if you have paper, you can beat that with scissors. So Matt and I will just demonstrate. I'm sure you know the game already, but if you're ready, Matt, we'll go on
There
1,
we
2,
go.
3. 1,
Ready?
2, 3. There we
You got
go.
me. I thought you'd guess that I was doing scissors the whole time before. Okay, now's
So
your chance. Steve just beat me. So here's your chance. In the comments, we're going to go 1, 2, 3, and you're going to type in your particular weapon you've picked. Ready? Here we go. I'll count you in. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Matt's gone scissors. What did you get? I will pause just to give you a chance to type that in. You can put your objects down. Oh, so.
Paper. Okay, sorry, Owen.
But Andrew beat you there
Rock,
with rock.
Andrew. Okay, Andrew took me
And
out. Zoe.
Rock
Job,
two,
paper for call. No ties, no ties.
flamethrower. There we go. That's cheating, surely. So the idea being is it's just for the starter to get the children warmed up. Again, they can use that idea of the rock paper scissors game. For different variations on that, I've played that once where, for example, the children might play it in a pair, and then when that person who wins that pair would then go on to play somebody else, but the person who lost in that game then becomes the cheerleader or the supporter for that person. So in our game with Matt and myself, because I won that one, I'd then go and play somebody else, and Matt would come and support to me and cheer me on. So again, with time or depending on your class, you can build that up to a different variation on the game, or you can keep it just nice and calm. The children in their own spaces, in their own seats, just playing, at a distance with each other as well. But the idea being is it's going to give them the idea of playing that game. What are the rules of the game, and then how can we then code that? And that's what Matt's going to tell us about in the coding part.
Exactly. And so we have a bit of fun with this one. I always find that this playground goes down a huge hit in the classroom. You're building a game and then handing it off to other people to play. It's one of those things that really makes it magic for just about every person I've ever seen code this particular playground. So it's a ton of fun. You're always going to come up with somebody who has a unicorn that beats everybody, or a flamethrower, for example,
Mhm.
that beats everything. So I really love coding this one in class. I think it's a lot of fun, and there's a lot of places to go from there too. There's so many great new playgrounds from Apple, like the Lights Camera Code series, the Sonic Workshop. They're really good at getting kids to realize that actually what I've been doing this whole time is building up towards being able to build an app. And every one of those playgrounds I just mentioned, they're fully fledged apps kind of running inside Swift playgrounds. You have access to buttons, and you can set actions to the buttons. It's hugely powerful. So this we definitely end the weeks on a high note, and hopefully we'll be able to inspire both your kids and yourselves to keep going in the classroom with this material.
Mhm. And that's it. And more material is highlighted on the website of the books which go with the Swift Playgrounds, which have got a number of unplugged activities in there, a number of activities which develop these concepts. And also, what we're also trying to do is connect to everyday life as well. So the idea being is, for example, with the algorithms, connecting to maybe finding your way to and from school or to a place. And for example, the new Apple Maps has got new cycling directions, for example. So it's this idea of how do we connect this to something which the students might know about?
Yeah, and it's all about building those connections. So just as a quick refresher, and we've posted a video about this, about how to get this material onto your iPad. Just as a sort of quick demo to you guys, all we're going to do is on our playgrounds for our students is we're going to open up our App Store. We're going to go down here to the search tab and search for Swift Playgrounds. It's a free app from Apple. So pick the autocomplete. And you can see here, I already actually have it. You'll see the get button, or you'll see the cloud with the download arrow if you don't have it already. Um, and this is what we're going to be living in while we're working with our students. So if you have a look, I've already got the 4 playgrounds that I need for the week. And this is all we need for the week if we're sticking with just the bare minimum, none of the extensions. You can always find these playgrounds down here in the More Playgrounds section inside Swift Playgrounds. You just tap on the See All button. And we have our Learn to Code section here, where we're going to grab the Learn to Code 1 and Learn to Code 2 playgrounds. The really nice thing is you can always go download these playgrounds again and have second copies of them. It's really such a low risk environment for students to start coding in. I really love this tool for kids, because if they go in and they start working and Learn to Code, and they get to the first playground and they make a huge mess of things and it doesn't run, and nothing seems to be working, they can always go up to these 3 dots here, hit reset page, and everything's okay again. We've started from scratch. So it's a very safe environment for students to work in. Like I said, on the site, we have all those code samples for every single page that we'll be working through. You're able to copy the code and paste it right into your Swift Playground. So if you do get really stuck, sometimes it's helpful to have someone else's code that works to try out in your own playground and see what it's supposed to look like, and then work from there. So that's what we're going to be working in. That's all we need is Swift Playgrounds and those playgrounds on the iPad, and we'll be good to go.
Mm. Yes, and again with the unplugged activities, there's minimal resources you'll need. I'd probably say each day we'll be using. You could use pens and papers each day. It's really the origami one. You definitely need pen and paper for. But again, all the resources and things are signposted on the website. If you want to just check to see what you might need for that day.
Yeah, yeah, it'll help you plan for the day for sure. So I that's kind of all we have to cover. The site has a lot of the material on it. We wanted to make sure that we introduced it to you guys so that you were a little bit more comfortable running this in your class. We're happy to take questions from anybody, or if anybody has a different way that they like to run it in class, I'd love to hear that too, because
Mm.
the way we suggest isn't necessarily the only way to do it. But feel free to drop any comments in the YouTube chat there, and we'll pop them up on screen while we talk them over.
Yeah.
And there may be cases like the woodpecker noise. Now I have heard that, and we had fixed it in most of the recordings. If we do get stuck with that, I also would love to hear from people in the chat if we do start out on a really bad foot in any of these classroom sessions.
Yeah. No, we're really excited about this. I think it's just such an opportunity to take the tasters from different parts of the Swift playgrounds and just share those and just see what people think. What they like. There's going to be people who've been looking at these materials already and have maybe talked with them. There's going to be people who are going to be new to this. So it's a whole range of experiences as ever with coding.
That's a good question, actually, Andrew. So is there any specific handle hashtag? We've been using hashtag Code Week because that's the official EU Code Week hashtag. You can also use hashtag Swift Playgrounds or hashtag Everyone Can Code, or all three if you want. Those are the ones that we've been using most in all of our communications.
Yeah. We've got a question there by Zoe about whether P5s would be able to join in too. And certainly what we've found, or what I found when I've been teaching this, is when the children are looking at the problems, probably like I am if I ever buy IKEA furniture and things like that, I go straight to the actual activity without necessarily reading the instructions properly. And so what I found is certainly starting off, it's easy for the children to look at the problem and try and solve it. But as it goes on, sometimes they need to maybe read the instructions or find out exactly the what they need to do more precisely from the text. And that's where we find with the younger ones, they might struggle a wee bit more to understand what that text is. But what we're hoping is because it's in the lesson and because we're trying this follow along way of working, is they can get an idea of the concept and then go and have a go at that activity. And as you mentioned, where you have P6 and 7s together, it might be again that the P6, 7s can certainly learn themselves as they teach others. Or it may just be that some of the P5s are more able than some of the P7s. You never really know. But it's in the teaching of others is how they really sort of embed their thinking. So yeah, certainly. So I think it'd be great for the P5s to join in too.
Without a doubt. I mean, even the older kids don't read you'll give them the Swift Playground and they'll just blow right by down, start writing code like most good engineers do without reading anything about the goal for the session or any of the tips that they give you in the description. So that's why we're doing this as a follow-on session. Exactly like Steve said, we're trying to help you walk them through it, and it's all ages. It's not just the younger kids.
Yeah. And the snippets of code that are on the website and on the pages, we put those there because it may be that, as Matt mentioned, if you miss a step, then you can't always catch up with missing that step. But as ever, just pulling apart somebody else's code is a great way of, again, understanding what's going on rather than starting from a blank piece of paper, getting that code, saying this is what the code is which works, what's each part doing, and tracing through what's happening. Yeah, it's really a great way to get them just to pull apart someone else and explain what's going on.
All right. And if we don't have any more questions, you're always welcome to drop an email. You can drop an email to codeweek at thecodehub.ie. That'll go to myself and Steve, and we'll try to shoot back an answer if we have the answer, or go digging for it anyway if we don't. Um, and otherwise, we're really looking forward to starting on Monday, the 12th, and getting those kids excited about coding. And I think we've got a good couple of sessions lined up for them.
Definitely very excited and looking forward to it. Please do join in and please do tell your friends, and everyone is welcome.
Definitely. All right. Thanks very much. And hopefully we'll talk to you guys on that Monday. All right. See ya.
Bye now.